So run you through my system here. I've had some questions about this. We've got a band heater on a drum. Warm that up to 92 to 105, somewhere in there. Works pretty good. Stainless standpipe runs up to my honey pump, which I've got mounted on top of a shelf so that the lines drain away from the pump. Makes it a lot easier to clean. And if there's honey that stays in the pump overnight, I warm it up with a hairdryer, and then the pump doesn't seize. It works really, really slick. That runs over into my tank. Just got a U-bolt on the head there that kind of sort of clamps it on there. It doesn't move. And then I've got a float switch that when this tank gets up to that level, it shuts the pump off, and it only allows about 3 inches of travel in the tank, which gives me consistent head pressure to my filling machine. If the tank gets too low, I have to keep adjusting the machine. So this lets the tank drop about 50 pounds, 45 to 50 pounds, and then it refills it. And I don't have to do anything to do it. It's just automatic. I actually replaced this with a T-type ball valve. I used to have an L-type, and I needed a T-type. So right now I've got honey coming out from the tank and going this way. You can see that T-type works like that. So I can turn the handle over here and have honey go to both these heads. Or I can shut the tank off and have honey backflow and drain it out of here, which is pretty important. I've got an inline filter. Got a 600 micron filter bag in that right now. Vacuum. I had to replace this with a vacuum gauge because I'm sucking through it, not pushing into it. It came with a pressure gauge. So the vacuum gauge tells me if the filter gets clogged. And then I've got a 1.5 inch T-type ball valve. Allows honey to go this way right now, but I can turn it up here and it will allow this all to drain. So the filter and the line to my filling machine will drain out. And then I built this rolling stand so I can get a bucket underneath this and drain it all really, really slick. And of course, I've got my filling machine. That's a Honey Aid. Used to be branded as a Nassenhyder. It's the same machine, same company. They just rebranded. And I'm running it on 32 right now. Speed, 32. It will go to 100. So it would service 3 of me, lidding and labeling. I'm actually a lot faster doing my 1.5 pound bottles than I am the plastics, because I've got a front and a back label on the plastic and just one label on this one. I will turn it up to about 58 when I fill these, and it'll do 1.5 pounds in 7-8 seconds. And even then, I'm at 58, so it would basically service 2 of me doing lids and labels. This machine works good. It comes with metric German fittings and stuff. I think this fitting is ridiculous. You shouldn't have to have a wrench to take this stuff apart. So I got this threaded adapter that changed it over to 1.5 inch. And then I had to get a adapter to change that to sanitary. And it came with a 40 millimeter hose, which is almost 1.5 inches, but a little bigger, which is aggravating. So I switched this over to 1 inch because I think the smaller diameter gives me a little bit more consistent head pressure. And that seems to work pretty good. So vacuum line everywhere. It's taken a lot of work to get this system to where it is, but right now it's running pretty clean. So I'm picking up some freebies this morning. those hives are on property that one of my landowners has. He had somebody keeping some bees down in here years ago, and it is back in here. He gave me a drive around of the property when I was looking for a spot to put a bee yard, and he drove me right here and said, "This is a great place for bees." And I said, "It takes 10 minutes off-road to get down here. 10 minutes off-road with no improved road. So if it rains, I'm gonna have trouble." So of course I put my bee yard next to the paved road that's right behind a locked gate. But he wants me to get these bees out of here. He doesn't want them down here anymore. So I'm gonna take them home and get them some oxalic acid. They've not been treated in 2 or 3 years. I just listened to them, and I think all 3 of these are alive. I'm sort of shocked by that. They might be swarms that moved in last year or something. Who knows? It's cold this morning, but it's not so cold that they're not going to come out. So I'm going to have to tape them up and stuff. I actually heard bees in this one. There's a lot of bees in this one, and there's bees in that one too. Looks like some mice have been in there. I listened to all 3 of these, and all 3 of them sound like they've got bees in them. I guess the sound could be going through the timbers that they're sitting on. I could just be hearing one of like this big hive in the middle. I'm pretty sure it's got bees in it. But all 3 of them may. I think I'm gonna crack them open and see. Dead outs are a lot easier to move than hives are. That was silly. Why would you do that? It is March 12th, and I'm doing my first major hive manipulations of the year. That is way later than I normally do. It's just been delay. Show you what I'm seeing here. First hive I've torn into, I've got a bunch of drone brood, which is expected this time of year. You start seeing a bunch of drone brood, it's about 5 weeks to swarm season. This was the top box, that was the middle box, and this was the bottom box. They've got a little bit of brood in the bottom, but mostly empty comb. So I'm gonna reverse that, put the bottom box on the top. They're pretty heavy. We've got fresh nectar. We've got diverse pollen. We've got a bunch of brood going in. So I'll put their bottom box on top, add another box of drawn comb, and they're gonna be done for 2 or 3 weeks. At least 2. I won't see them again for 2 weeks. Good to go. So that's one down. Got a bunch of brood in the bottom 2 boxes. 2 boxes of basically empty comb on top of that. All of my well-populated hives will look like this within 3 days. I think this is probably a good time to show you guys how my little trailer project is coming. This is one of the reasons that I'm late getting going. I've been spending a lot of time on this, more than I thought it would take. My son had flu last week too, so I was out with him for several days. He couldn't go to my dad's. My dad's nearly 80, so I don't need to take Flu to his house. So I had to stay with my son. So I got a toolbox mounted on this with a solar panel to charge the battery. And I ran electric under the frame, through the frame. It comes out right there. That's a 2-pin trailer connector. And my feed pump is mounted inside here. That's a 40 mil ammo can to keep all the electric dry. So feed pump will plug into there. I've got a couple mounts coming, some spare tire mounts that I'm actually going to bolt this thing down to the trailer bed so I don't have to use straps. Got a 142 gallon IBC tote to hold syrup, 1-inch outlet going through a 50 mesh strainer into the pump and then into a 100-foot of hose. I've already done some timing on this, and my old system with a cheap diaphragm pump was rated at like 4.9 gallons per minute, and it would take almost 30 seconds to fill a 1 gallon feeder. This one is a Marco pump, almost the same one that Bob Benny uses. It's a high viscosity pump, so it's the low model, or low viscosity, I guess. It's supposed to pump thicker syrup, and because of that, it doesn't have as much top end. It's rated at 5 gallons per minute, no matter much what the viscosity is. But this one will fill my 1 gallon feeders in 9 seconds. So that makes a lot of difference over the course of a day. Then of course I built this dolly to hold all this stuff. Got some wheels on there, so it makes it easy to move it around. The trailer itself is a 12-foot PJ utility trailer with a 4-inch channel frame, and that means that the side rails are removable. Then I had my welding shop put a headboard on it, so I don't have to worry about boxes falling forward, meaning I can stack them higher. I've got 33 in that stack, and then I can get at least one more stack before I start getting into the tote. I did go ahead and put X-Track inside the fender wells, and a lot of these are just screwed down to the deck, but I do have some bolts that are going all the way through the angle iron supports, so they are bolted and screwed down. And then this thing had a ramp tailgate on it. I had to take that off and had to cut the brackets off because they stuck up above the bed, and I want to be able to pick up pallets with this thing, meaning a lift gate needs to be able to set down on the back of it and then roll pallets onto the deck. So I had to remove those, and then it had middle supports for the lift gate that would for sure poke a hole in my shin bone. So I got some rubber bumpers put on there, and I think it's just about done. I think this rig is going to save me a lot of time over the course of the season. That's why I've spent so much time on it. Got rub rail put on it. I've got some stake pockets. So I think it's going to work out really good. You kind of see a plan behind what I'm doing here. I don't do a lot of frame manipulations. I do box manipulations. That's one of the things I really do like about using all mediums. You can look down through here and see most of these are into 4 boxes already. So the bottom 2 boxes have got a lot of brood. The third was the box on the bottom. It's almost empty. And then another box of drawn empty comb on top of that. That's going to give them time to grow. All the ones that are in 4 boxes are healthy and big, and I'll get at least 2 splits out of them. This one is small, Maybe the queen's old or weak. This one didn't get a fourth box. It's a little slow. I had another one up here that I did put a fourth on, but it's just a little bit slower. This 3 here was a little bit slower, but it went into winter as a 2, so, you know, that's okay. But I better get the smoker because this hive's really aggravated with me. So I get to this hive here, and they're just giant. They've got walking around drones already. Tons of brood, tons of drone brood. And like I said, they've already got walking around drones. That was the bottom box. They're too big. So I pulled them back. I pulled 4 brood frames out of them. That's like taking an entire split. And I gave a couple to, you know, spread them out to some of these smaller hives. It's easy to equalize when you do it this way because you just go to your short ones, and those are the smaller ones. And when you come across a really big one that needs to be pulled down, you do it right then. So makes it pretty easy. They've got to be slowed down. They're definitely going to try to swarm early on me. But pulling 4 full brood frames out, that should help. So just open up this hive. They actually had 2 feeders in them. Look at the bottom of this one. We've got queen cups going in. Just about late on them. Lots of drone brood. Tons of drone brood. I need to graft. I think today's the 12th. I probably need to start on about the 20th. What I'm doing today will buy me a little bit of time. It'll give them some room to grow. That'll keep them occupied, let them lay some more brood, and then I'll harvest that brood out into splits and make nukes. It's good to see healthy bees. I'm leaving this yard with a lot less boxes than I came in with. That's a good thing. I went through in early February, late January, early February. I think it was like the 3rd through the 8th of February. And weight checked everybody. And that gave me an opportunity to pull down dead outs because obviously dead outs don't have any weight to them. So I didn't have any deads in here, but I did have one that was queenless. No brood at all. Still had a lot of bees, and they weren't laying worker yet. So I just pulled them down and merged them with several different colonies. Again, just pulled them apart and found my 3 high and 2 high and set a box of bees on top. They'll sort that out. Get my hose rolled up and we're ready to go to the next yard. So here's a picture of one that I don't think it's worth saving. It's kind of borderline though. They technically do have a queen. I saw her. I tried to catch her. She got away from me. I could find her in there, but I'm not gonna waste a bunch of time on this. That's all the brood in this whole hive. The queen was small. And the reason I was trying to catch her is I was gonna pinch her. But I'll let the other colonies do this. So there's just like a softball sized spot of brood in there on 2 sides of one frame. That's it. There's only bees in the top. So I'm gonna be adding fourths to a lot of these big ones like I have to this one. So I'll just take these boxes and divvy them up. And wherever that queen is, the bees I put put her on top of are going to kill her. They'll sort that out. So quick and easy. I don't want to waste time on a colony like this. I don't think there's any chance that they're going to produce anything for me this year. They're definitely not going to make a nuke, and they're also not going to make a honey crop. I could take excess brood and start giving them a bunch of, small frames of brood one at a time and get them up to size by June maybe, but then I've still got a queen that's probably inferior. So it's like you're throwing good money after bad. I'd rather just cut my loss on this now, give the equipment to somebody that's going to make money with it. March 13th, working another yard. This hive I gave fondant. I gave one patty of fondant on 11/2, and I gave them 2 patties of fondant on January 17th. I just picked up the back of the hive, and they're actually pretty heavy now, so they've got some stuff coming in. Or I don't think they're supposed to store the fondants, but they've picked up a lot of weight, and they were dangerously light in January. So that's what, $18 that I spent, $6 a patty, $18 to get them to here. I think that's worth it. They need probably 2 boxes. They may have swarm cells in there already. I'm late on them. So they're going to give splits and honey this year. That's a good investment. This is that same hive from underneath. You can see they're already got some cups going in, but drone brood isn't even the purple-eye stage yet, so they're not in danger of swarming. Give them some space, a lot of empty comb, and that should slow them down some. I'll be harvesting probably 2 nukes from them in 3 weeks or so. I took this equipment out of storage in the winter so I could feed them some fondant. These brown recluses probably came with it because they generally don't live out in bee yards. This is the first time I've ever found them on top of a hive. We don't like those. Those are big ones too. They look like females. I don't think they're going to pass the hive tool test though. Nope. They are not immune to hive tools. Ugh. I don't mind spiders, but I don't like those or black widows. I don't like them a bit. Hive doesn't really need fondant. They haven't used it. So I'm halfway through this yard. These are a little slower than my other yards, and we've got a major wind storm, tornado, huge thunderstorms coming through for the next, tonight and tomorrow. So I'm not putting force on anybody that I don't have to, but I am reversing and getting these blocks back on them. Hopefully I don't have any turnover or lids blow off. I've never had a lid blow off with a half block on it. I have had them blow off with a brick on them. Anyway, I'm gonna have to get back in here in a week and a half or so and get force on some of these, but I don't want to do it today because of the wind coming in. I just opened this hive, saw that in the top. No bees underneath. They had a fondant patty on them. I would imagine that's the only reason they're still alive. And they do have a queen apparently. Somewhere. There she is. Poor thing. They don't have a queen anymore. That's 3 more boxes of comb. No, this box has got 3 undrawn frames in it, 4 undrawn frames in it. So I've probably got 2 boxes of comb underneath there. I'm not going to mess with a hive like that this time of year. I've got some that need to be split today. I can hold them for a couple of weeks, but they're bursting, and I don't have time to nursemaid something like this. Even though that queen looked okay, there's obviously a problem with this hive, and I'm not going to waste time on them. Spring culls. So I set this yard up last year. Good southern exposure. Nice road to get in here. Northern windbreak. Good forage sources. There's a creek right over this bank. Water nearby. Everything you want for a bee yard. I had a 2/3 loss over winter, fall and winter in here. Got 8 hives left. I had 24 at one point. I don't know exactly why. I do know that I fed them less than some other yards, but I don't think that would make the difference. I'm afraid that the gentleman that owns this land has a really nice garden up here, about a 1/4 mile away. Really nice garden, beautiful. And I don't know, but I'm afraid that they got weakened by some pesticides and winter took them out. He is 92 or 3. Don't know how long he'll be able to maintain that garden, so I don't think I'm going to pull out of here this year. But I don't know that I'm going to repopulate it all the way either. I need to have some plans to move these bees out. I was aware of this problem or potential problem when I moved them in here, and I did keep an eye on them. I didn't see any obvious pesticide kills where you just see piles of bees underneath the hive, but something's going on. None of my other yards look like this. Something's going on.